beyond the labels we wear, underneath the fear and competing ideologies, we are all looking for the light. To bring dignity, understanding, and redemption where there's been pain and confusion. Welcome to Brave Nation with me, Leigh Sloan. Let's pursue the wisdom and courage we need to create lasting reform, right here, right now, starting with you and me. Hello, Brave Nation. Welcome back to our podcast. We have a brave guest on today, and he has an inspiring story, a number of different things in life that he's walked through. And, he coincidentally is running for lieutenant governor in Alaska as well. But I just wanted to get to know him a little bit more. For those of you who don't know him, he's actually new to me too. I'll be learning along with you. And he is running alongside former Senator Shelley Hughes. And so, welcome. So you're a retired Brigadier General in the Air Force.
Yes.
Help us get to know you a little bit more. You are also running for Lieutenant Governor. And so introduce us to yourself. Tell us a little bit more about your background.
Majored in civil engineering, went to pilot training, had some assignments. I was in Colorado, Arizona, Louisiana, and that brought me to Alaska. I love the state. This is where I separated from the active duty and joined the Air National Guard. And so I did 10 years of active duty and about 20 years in the Guard. And I've been in Alaska since 94.
Okay.
So quite a while.
Fierce. So what do you love about Alaska?
I like the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that even though it's the demographics have changed, the people are still very friendly. And if somebody has a flat tire on the highway, somebody's going to stop and help them.
Mm-hmm.
It's even though it's a larger city, the South Central area,
Yeah.
larger area, people still are friendly, and it's more like a small town.
Yeah. I grew up in Los Angeles, so people joke about Los Anchorage, that we're getting a little bit more like Los Angeles. I do love the diversity out here. In my side of East Anchorage, we have the most diverse high school in the nation. And then, but then if you drive you know, just about 20 minutes out, to Chugiak in that area, I used to live in Missouri, in a small town, Missouri as well. And so I feel like I can be almost like it's in LA and then Missouri, like that. You can get to a lot of different kinds of places in Alaska. So I really appreciate that. So did you think that you'd ever be running for lieutenant governor?
No,
Nothing on your radar?
no. People ask that question a lot on how I got associated with the campaign. And for years, my wife April, has been saying, you need to get involved in politics because we're both conservative Christian people. And I comment oftentimes on politics, more national stuff than local.
Mm-hmm.
For years, I've been saying no since I retired from the military and the airlines. And she would bring it up now and then, and she brought it up back in early April, brought it up again. And I said, absolutely not. The only one involved in politics is if politics finds me. That was pretty much a quote.
Wow.
A couple weeks later, my wife had a dream, and she woke up in the morning and said, I had a dream last night, and you're in politics now. I kind of chuckled and didn't think anything of it. And that was on a Friday. And then on a Saturday evening, I got a phone call from Shelley Hughes.
Wow.
And it was in the evening, and I thought it was a robocall of some sort. So I didn't recognize the number. I didn't answer it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the voice message. and it was Shelley saying, I'd like to have a talk with you about something. And so I did some research on who she was and her platform, and I was interested and very much in agreement with her position on
Hmm.
things. And then I called her, and we had a meeting set up out in Palmer. I took my wife with me, and we sat down with her. And she mentioned that she was interested in me for lieutenant governor.
Hmm.
And I told her I wasn't interested at all.
Yep.
And I kind of took her off guard with that. And she said, why is that? And I said, because historically, lieutenant governors don't really do anything.
Right.
And I've got plenty of other things going on in my life. I do uh, some men's ministry, some youth ministry, and I help my friends out with different projects, and I'm busy every day.
Hmm.
And I don't really want to let that go to do something that I don't think is going to be that valuable.
Right.
And she said, well, I'm so glad you said that because I've been looking for a running mate. We've considered 25 people. I've interviewed five, and none of them really matched what I was looking for. And I said, well, what is that? She said, I'm looking for somebody who has executive experience, uh, not coming from the political side, knows how to
Hmm.
run organizations, and doesn't really want the job, but they have the capability. So they don't have strong political aspirations. They just want to do something. And I want to have a partner in this that
Hmm.
offload some responsibilities to so we can share the responsibilities.
Hmm.
And I don't want a lieutenant governor that just wants to be in an honorary position and doesn't do much. I want
Right.
somebody to partner.
Right.
So I'm very interested in having you as my running mate. And uh,
Yeah.
that surprised me a little bit. I, I wasn't expecting that. And so we talked a little bit longer, and I told her my wife and I will go home and pray on this and discuss it, and I'll let you know. And we did that, and I told her I'd accept it. I'd run with her, and
Hmm.
here we are. So that was at the very towards the end of April. I think it was announced on April 30th,
Hmm.
and we've been full on campaign mode since then.
Wow. Yeah, I like that how politics finds you, and you kind of prophesied that ahead of time that
Yeah, April did.
politics would have to find you. Yes.
He
And
has for sure.
yeah, I think a lot of us don't like the political climate, the toxic tribalism is what I call it. It's ugly, it's dirty, and a lot of normal people that want to do good in the world don't want anything to do with it because it's an ugly kind of world out there, but at the same time, if people that have good intentions don't step up, then that world will be void of good intentions, right? It won't have the positive impact that we need. And so I liken it a lot of times to having a lot of us want to put our white gloves on because we want to stay clean of everything, right? And and then the other side wants to put their boxing gloves on and fight all the time. And that's what we don't want. But and there is a time to pick up your boxing gloves, but I think most of the time what we need is gardening gloves, and we need to get in there and cultivate our culture around us, And so whatever form that takes, whether it's helping a youth group, right, and discipling people, or it's getting in there and running for office, it's what sounds like it's what God called you to do.
Yeah, I think right now, yeah, I'm not sure where it's going to lead me in the long term, but that doesn't matter.
Hmm. Yeah,
Just
it's taking the right step.
just being obedient
Hmm.
of what I view as a calling. My wife and I are campaign manager now. Being obedient, and uh, I tell people I'm trying not to look too far out on the horizon because we assume where this path will lead us.
Hmm.
I'm trying to be obedient and just watch the path that's right in front of me.
Hmm.
Try to stay on that.
I never thought I would run for Anchorage Assembly at all. And I helped someone else run, Stephanie Taylor run, but I thought that's absolutely nothing I want to do. But when it was called upon me to do, I just thought, this is my duty. I'm going to do this. And I didn't end up winning, but I know looking back that it was the right path. And I know that God had purpose in every step. The people I met along the way, every part of it was important. So yeah, our journey is as important as our destination. I want to talk about your life in general and just get to know you a little bit more. We can't really go through this interview about you without talking about your infamous bear attack. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
That happened on November 10th, 2012. And I had been trapping for 2 or 3 years uh, down near my cabin on the Kenai Peninsula. And the first day of trapping season, so my trapping partner and I were going out to set some gear. And it was, chilly. It was upper 20s and there's 6 inches of snow on the ground. Down where our cabin's at, there's a lot of bear activity, and didn't see any bear activity. There's some around. They on a good salmon year, if the water doesn't come up and flush a lot of salmon out of the river, uh, uh, the brown bears will stay around all the way through the end of December. Mostly just the big males. And in fact, that we hadn't seen any, so we went and put gear out, and we're doing that. We were separated. He was in an area and I was in an area, and I'm walking back towards the river, towards a boat, and had a bear growl at me, makes kind of a wolfing sound, and I knew what it was. I hear that a fair amount. Wasn't alarmed, and saw it. We were kind of both going the same direction towards the same destination, and it was off to my left about 20 yards or so. And I just put my arms up and made myself large and kind of yelled at it so it knew I was a human and knew that I knew it was there.
Mhm.
It was telling me he knew I was there. Uh, and when I did that, the bear, usually they'll grumble at you, but nothing much comes of it. If they stand their ground, then I leave. If sometimes they'll just run away, so it's not a big deal. This one stood up on its back legs, threw its head back, made a big roar, and just came running at me. Just as fast as when you see a dog running and his back legs are going between its front legs because it's running so fast. This was doing that. It was full on. It was a very large bear, and it didn't come directly at me. It came. I have a path cut through there, and it was trying to get on that path because there's a bunch of debris in the way. And I knew that I just had seconds, and you get that time distortion
Mm.
where everything slows down so much that it seems like it's taking many, many minutes, but it's only taking a few seconds. Uh, and strange things pop in your mind when something like that happens. And
Mm.
I've never experienced that before.
Mhm.
It just slows down so much. I did a quick assessment around me. Uh, there was no place I could go. There was a big spruce tree in front of me, but about 6 or 8 feet. I knew I couldn't get there. There was a dead poplar tree, aspen looking tree, about 6 inches wide behind me. It was still on the ground. It was just a dead one. And there was no place I could go. And I knew that I just had seconds. And if the bear hit me at that speed, it would probably knock me out and I would probably uh, die. Uh, uh, Not from hit, but I wouldn't be able to do anything. I would just be a rag doll.
Mhm.
So I decided that I had to make the bear miss me. So I only thing I could think of was I just kind of dropped into a football stance, uh, going back to my college days. And
Mhm.
when it cleared that big spruce tree, it did exactly what I expected. It just launched at me, and I was waiting. And when it did that, then I charged it and just kind of stepped inside of it, off my left foot, and I was just surprised that my plan worked. It was just going past me, a big brown blur shooting past me. I didn't know what I was going to do after that, but I was happy that that was working. What I didn't realize is as it was shooting past me, it had enough agility that it was able to twist its body with its outside paw, reach around and hooked my left thigh, which was nearest the bear, uh, and hooked my thigh and took me to the ground.
Mm.
And I went down hard
Mm.
because it used me and that poplar, it broke the poplar tree off at the ground and used me to slow its momentum. And my partner was 40 yards away or so. He heard what he thought was the impact because he heard the bear when it roared at us.
Mhm.
Or he thought the bear had hit me because it was such a, but it was actually me hitting the ground so hard, even with 6 inches of snow.
Ugh.
So I just sat up after that. I hadn't been out for a second or two because when I sat up, the bear was no longer past me, it was in front of me. And I just sat straight up, just a reflex. I knew where I was at and what was happening. So I sat up, and as I sat up, the bear was right in front of me and immediately took my entire head in its mouth. And it was just a tremendous amount of pressure. And it wasn't shaking me or anything. It was just kind of crushing. I could just hear my skull just
Oh
creaking
my.
and tremendous pressure. And I knew I had to do something. And uh, the only thing I could think of was I took my left hand and shoved it down in its throat, and I reached up with my right arm, grabbed my elbow, and I was using my forearm as a lever in the hinge of its jaw, just trying to
Ugh.
open its mouth. And every time I really leaned on my elbow, I'd pull my head back, and I just kept working that back. And slowly, uh, I was gaining ground, and I cleared it. My head popped out. But when it did that, the canines, so it had me hooked like this. The canines came down and ripped a hunk off of my right above my eye, and I've got a scar going down. I've got scars all underneath my jaw. Uh,
Wow.
so my eye immediately filled up with blood, uh, and I just kind of rolled back, and the bear was over top of me, and it kept trying to bite my head again, and I just kept making my head as big as I could and kept pushing it off so it could only get a hold of the top. That was too big for it to fit in its mouth, and slowly rolled me all the way over on my back. And then I could hear screaming, and I, I didn't understand how my partner was getting mauled at the same time as what came into my mind. But he was actually uh, yelling as loud as he could to get the bear off of me.
Yeah.
And the bear could see him now and took off after him.
Oh wow.
And he ran down our trail and dove into some bushes. And the bear raked his back. He had a pack on his back, and the claws cut his clothes, but didn't cut him. And then it came back around to me again. And I could feel it, the ground, as it kind
Oh
of
my.
came back to me. And it came back from a different angle. And I could see it with my one good eye. And I pulled my right knee up towards my chest and covered my head again, getting ready for another hit. And it just it just walked up to me, just grabbed my upper calf right below my knee and just bit that really hard. And when he did that, it shattered my fibula. I didn't know it at the time, and that leg just had nothing. I couldn't control it anymore, and it just dropped. And then
Mm.
it walked up and got really close to my nose, my face, and sniffed me, and then came off the ground and gave me a big pump on my sternum, which I'm surprised didn't crack it. And then knocked all the air out of me. And I just laid there. I couldn't move. And it came down and sniffed my face one more time and then turned and walked away. And
Wow.
it took me a little while to get my air back. And I was able to found my baseball cap and stuck my cut forehead up in there. My nose had been tore off and was only hanging by my right nostril, so it was inverted,
Oh my goodness.
hanging off my cheek by my mouth,
Ugh.
and I was a bloody mess. Put a glove on my face and got up and started walking back. Uh, Found my partner, got to the boat, and called 911. Told the ambulance where to meet us. Got the boat, took the boat down to my truck, took the truck to meet the ambulance uh, at a gate, and that was it. They took me to Central Peninsula Hospital. They said they could fix my legs. So my left thigh, I didn't realize this because I had a few layers of clothes on and I had knee boots on.
Mhm.
I had pretty bad trauma to my face, a lot of punctures in my arms. One of the teeth went all the way through my hand, like I put a nail through it. Uh, and my left thigh, that initial contact, that claw cut me all the way to the top of my thigh, all the way down to my femur. Went into my groin, jumped my artery and vein, then cut into my hamstring. So if it continued through right there, just a few millimeters, I would have bled out there. And
Mm.
my fibula was shattered. Um, a lot of trauma to my face. They said they could fix my leg, but they couldn't fix my face. It needed a very skilled
Mm.
plastic surgeon. So they packaged me up and flew me to Anchorage.
Wow.
It turns out I thought it was a male, but it turns out it was a sow. My partner went back in there the next day to disable some gear, and I never saw a cub, but I did realize I'd seen this bear before back in October. Uh, and I was really surprised. I've never seen a sow with cubs in November. They're usually gone.
Mm.
And it was a very big bear when I saw her in October. And in fact, I thought it was a male until the two cubs came out
Mhm.
with it. It was built like a male. It's just a big monster bear. And so when I was getting mauled, a cub had sat down near me, but she had lost one.
Oh,
She stayed out late, probably lost one to another big dominant male in that area.
yeah.
And when I got loud and aggressive, it was not going to lose a second cub, and that's why it came like it did.
Okay. Yeah, and you didn't realize it was there.
I
It,
had no, I've never
yeah.
seen
Wow.
one.
So how is it going through this emotionally? I mean, obviously you got your face back. That's amazing. You can't even tell that you've survived this, but what was it like when you were going through it and how did it impact you?
I'm trying to think how to answer that. I was fairly certain that I probably wouldn't survive. So it wasn't a fearful thing. It was just a reactionary thing.
Hmm.
Your choices are you in my situation, some people would say, well, you should have played dead. Well, you can't play dead when you have a bear's got a hold of your head.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
have something, you have to fight back.
Hmm.
People say, well, I would have had a gun and I would have shot it. I didn't have a pistol on me. When I'm trapping, I used to just carry 22. Uh, and I would have even had a chance to get, if I have a 44, uh,
Hmm.
but it was on my belt. If I had one, I never would have even gotten to it in time
Yeah. Yeah.
fast. Uh, so now if I do carry, I carry right at my chest. So I might be able to get to that maybe. If
Hmm.
it, so so I felt like I probably was not going to survive this, but I was going to fight and do everything I could to survive it.
Yeah. But
But
and then but
I was
then
at
when you
peace. I was at
yeah.
peace with it. I wasn't concerned,
Yeah.
other than I was just trying to make it through. I wasn't afraid of dying. There was no fear.
Well, it must have been a miracle that you did survive. And then but then coming out of it, when you're in recovery, um, did you think I mean, what did God do in your heart as you came out of that? Did it impact the way you look at life now?
Um, that that didn't really change me. At that point in my life, I was kind of de-churched. Um,
Mhm.
if we're talking about the faith side of
Yeah.
things, yeah, I kind of fallen away from my faith,
Mm,
and that really didn't make a big impact, to be honest with you.
mm,
I recovered physically. It took a while.
mhm.
I had to have another surgery 6 months later. I had the plastic surgeon that put my face back together. I was his fifth bear mauling victim that he had patched up, uh,
Wow.
James Coleman. And so I was fortunate he was on call. So it took 8 hours of my face. They did my legs first. It was 2 hours. Recovery went, it just took a while. But that didn't really impact my faith that much.
Mm,
And then about 2 years later, um, my first wife, she had been ill for quite a while and she passed away.
mm,
So that was in the spring of 2014, and uh, that now we've been married for 26 years. I think it's
wow.
yeah, 26 years at that point, and uh, that one hit me pretty hard. But again, that didn't really change my faith perspective. Uh, I always felt like I could just handle anything and just keep rolling through it. Um, but
Mm,
that one hit me very hard. And then just a week later, um, I had some family. My mom was in town. I had some friends with me. We went down to my cabin on the Kenai Peninsula, and the Funny River Fire was coming. It was in that area because I'm in that area. I'm a remote cabin, no roads at all, and forestry said, "Don't be concerned. We've got it under control." They had a good fire break, and the fire ended up burning away from the cabin. And the wind changed a few days later, and it came right at the cabin. And we had evacuated. We had done tried to clear some trees and flooded the ground right around the cabin. Uh, had three big pumps running, but we had to evacuate, and the fire came and just consumed that entire area. We had evacuated across the river, saw the fire come. The smoke just covered everything you couldn't see. All you could see was the fire burning away from the cabin on the shoreline on both sides.
mm,
So uh, when that when that was coming, uh, uh, that's probably when I really prayed for the first time in years.
mm. Wow.
And simple prayer. I just can't handle any more loss of my own.
Hmm.
And as a result of that, um, when the smoke cleared, uh, the area where the cabins, because there's about 9 structures on that 3 acres. The fire consumed everything all the way up to the footprint of the buildings and stopped.
Mm. So that was another miracle?
Absolutely.
Wow.
In fact, the smoke jumpers came in after, a couple hours after, and they're kind of cleaning up, checking to see if there's any root fires that are going to burn into that area, because it really looked like just the green postage stamp surrounded by just everything else was incinerated around it.
Mm,
The supervisor said that it should all have been burnt because he said it was a firestorm. The flames were up to 100 feet into the trees are about 40 or 50 feet. The flames were twice that high. And it was
mhm.
blown by a 20-knot wind. And it just incinerated everything. And he said, this place, it doesn't matter what you did as far as trying to prevent it by cutting back brush and putting water down. He said, this should not have, it should be gone.
Yeah.
He, he was the one who first said, this is a miracle.
Mm.
he said it's like somebody just placed a bowl over top that area.
Hmm. Wow.
And
So then you finally realized that God
oh yeah,
was at work in your life, even though he had already saved you from the bear and all the it just took a while to figure that out.
yeah. It I guess it took a while to kind of humble yourself and
Hmm.
help.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. And then what shifted in you at that point?
That was kind of a slow. I kind of took notice uh, that I can't just rely on myself
Hmm.
to my life. Uh, I needed to rely on more than myself.
Hmm.
And I had a very good military career at that point. Uh, uh, I was more introspective in that time period. And then later on in the fall, um, uh, I met my wife. I'm remarried now, and I met her, and we ended up uh, finding the church that we go to now.
Hmm.
And then my faith just really ignited.
Hmm.
And so I call her my third miracle.
What would you say your purpose is now?
Uh, Trying to, I guess, uh, being open about my faith, talking to people about like we're doing right now,
Hmm.
and bringing other people to know Jesus, uh, to, to, to know the gospel.
Hmm.
Um, my wife is she does youth ministry also. She's also an ordained minister. She did that in the past year. She finished her master's, and so she does youth ministry. I do some youth ministry, but that's really uh, what we're focused on. So when Shelley asked me, that was a big reason why I said I really wasn't interested. But after praying on it together, we decided that this is another time where we're being asked to be obedient
Hmm.
and not necessarily doing what you personally want to do,
Hmm.
but doing what you're called to do.
Right. And
And,
God shifts your spheres sometimes, I
oh,
remember when
yeah,
I was in the church world my whole life, I thought, this is it, and this is what I wanted actually. And it was where I felt comfortable. But then, my favor started shifting, and it took other people in my life to point it out to me to go, hey, you've got something over here. And you never, even though you never planned it, God is moving it. He's moving the area where you can influence and impact. And if you don't pay attention to that, you won't be as much of an impact as you could be if you do lean into that. So he doesn't, sometimes he does change our trajectory and where we can be most effective. And we could try all the time over here and it's just not going. But then when we shift this way, all of a sudden you start getting traction.
and just being open, being obedient,
Hmm.
let the Holy Spirit work in your life. Uh, Let it talk to you and
Hmm.
guide your next steps. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's very when you accept that, it's very liberating because you don't you don't do anything and there's not fear or anxiety about it. So
Right.
campaign, I don't have any anxiety over it.
Yeah.
You can still get tired and it
Hmm.
the pace is pretty tough, uh,
Hmm.
but you're not afraid of messing it up
Well, because
because
you're not doing it alone, right? You're
uh,
you're just following the next step God laid out for you. So, yeah.
yeah, so uh, what's that line? Not line, but it's God doesn't always call the equipped.
Mm-hmm.
He equips the called.
Yep.
So if you believe in that, then that releases all anxiety from you, and
Mm-hmm.
you still work hard. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, Shelly and I are both very open about our faith when we're talking to people on the campaign trail, uh, and it defines, I think, both of our actions.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's all very much a Christian campaign, and we're doing what we feel like we're being called to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so as I didn't want to forget to ask about what do you plan on doing as lieutenant governor? Is anything different than what you've seen done before?
So the lieutenant governor used to be called the Secretary of State, and that was before statehood, because the lieutenant governor interfaced with the federal government a lot because it used to be a territory. The way Shelley envisions that is anything exterior to the state, uh, lieutenant governor should be involved in that discussion. Uh, so, as lieutenant governor, uh, yes, I've gotten very educated on issues with elections, and you could do a whole nother
Oh yeah,
very long cast on that one.
for sure.
And so Shelley wants to utilize me for everything external. So she has a lot of ambition to try to get our state lands back because 62% of our state is actually controlled by the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a large portion that is tribal lands. And then there's a lot of state lands. And then all the way down to the 1% that's actually owned by individuals like you and I. It's
Mm-hmm.
so she would like me to interface uh, with the federal government on a couple fronts.
Mm-hmm.
There's BLM land, and there's park lands and uh, refuge lands, and there's also just lands that are in holding by the federal government. Uh, you know, Shelley understands the. She doesn't want the tops of the mountains and the glaciers. That's fine to be parks, but the area that can be used for agriculture and homes and those kind of areas, especially on the road system, she aggressively wants to get that, and she wants me central to that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because we need the land. Even though it's an enormous state, uh, we just don't have access to much. And
Right.
central people, home prices are through the roof. There's no place to build. That's
Mm-hmm.
so far out into the valley because there's no place to build. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Ag's a big issue that she is taking on. So she wants me to focus on areas that I understand pretty well. Fishing game, Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. She wants me to, because of my background in the military, I understand what the position of Inspector General is. We had that in the military, so she wants to establish that under the executive branch uh, and use that Inspector General to do what she calls the Sunset Audit Commission. So look at every state agency, bring in experts to look at that to see how they're functioning. Is there redundancy? Are there programs that were started for a great reason, but they've outlived their usefulness? Uh, there might be areas where the government needs to grow uh, because we're not actually taking care of the needs of the people in some regard. Some areas need to shrink, but she wants to really look at that and right size our government.
Mm-hmm.
The years, and I've been here for 3 decades, our government has grown, but our population has really stagnated.
Mm-hmm.
So our government size and our government spending has outpaced our population
Mm-hmm.
significantly, and we can't afford that.
Yeah.
Uh, if I look back 30 years ago, uh, compared to today, the government's not doing anything more than it used to do. And we've not seen any significant roads built since I've lived in the state.
Mm-hmm.
But our government's so much larger, and that needs to be brought into balance.
Mm-hmm.
It's to utilize me in that regard as well.
Yeah.
What I don't have much experience is the legislative process. I understand civics. I understand how it works,
Mm-hmm.
the concept, but I haven't lived it. I've never been in public office.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly understands that extremely well.
Absolutely.
She knows how to work with all concerned parties. It doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal
Mm.
or moderate or independent. She knows how to find areas of agreement, consensus, and solve problems when you can look find a uh, agreement on things,
Mhm.
and that's
Yes,
her area of focus.
right.
Uh, I think we end up making a pretty good team. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. One thing I noticed about your story and what, your job would be, you mentioned the word protector. And I thought that's really interesting because, it's kind of how God has been showing himself to you in the past several decades. It sounds like that he's been your protector and that you also are a protector. That you have that it seems like a theme that's kind of in your life, in the military and then being faced with all of these challenges, knowing that he is with you in that. So I don't know if that's a theme that resonates with you.
I'd never thought about that.
Yeah.
That does make sense.
Yeah. So if he has indeed called you to be a protector of our state, I wouldn't doubt it. And whatever, whatever the results of the election are, I'm looking forward to seeing how God uses your life and all of us really. And it's interesting to see all these people, great people running for office. But really the outcome is in his hands and I chose Shelley, because I had a personal connection, but also because I just believed, I didn't know if she could win, but I believed in the spirit that she brought and just being around you, being around some of the people on the team, I realized this is a culture that I really appreciate, You get that sense from people when you're around them that it's something you can identify with. To me, it's a kingdom culture. And when I say kingdom culture, I don't mean that they're shoving religion down people's throats, It's about honor and it's really a humble stance, and it's about serving the people of Alaska. So I really appreciate you coming on here today. Is there any final things you want to say to the people of Alaska?
No, thanks for the opportunity to have the discussion. Uh, I think it helps when people can see the personal side
Definitely.
of who's running for public office, and they can understand the why more than the what. Yes,
Mhm.
office with Shelley, but what inspires people, I think, matters.
Yeah, and what's inside of people, I mean, we never know what challenges you're going to face, if you are in office. And so just knowing the person really is what I want to bring to people. Because you can hear all the platforms, you can read all about the platform on the website, right? But and you can even say all these platitudes, but knowing the person is who you're entrusting in our representative form of government, right? All right. Well, bless you and thank you so much for coming on. We're honored to have you.
Thanks for the opportunity. I enjoy talking with you.